that we do pretty well. And some of the other animals do this, and then a lot of them don't. They can't do this. They can't change the rotation or rotate the hand. Which is important to get change back to McDonald's. You know, have your hand out right that way. Or shake hands with friends, and things along those lines. We need certain bones that do different things. Radius and the ulna, I kind of alluded to them because I want you to illustrate those when you're doing the hands. Because if you just draw the hands all by themselves and end up with the carpal bones, they look goofy. You know, it just sort of looks cut off. You know? So if you just leave that much, well, that's a little more interesting. Radius and the ulna, both on the test. Radius and the ulna. Radius and the ulna. Let's see here. Remember, this is a mechanical thing. It doesn't quite do what it should do. Another one that used to. On the other side. The radius does, this one works a little bit better. It pivots. It pivots here. You see there's a ball and socket joint back here. You gotta know the kinds of joints we have. Fingers are hinge joints for the most part. You know, they do this. But this one rotates here. There's a little cup shape, just like there's a cup shape here in the glenoid cavity, that allows this to just rotate and pivot here. And we have some intercostal muscles in between here that help it do that, to pull it one way or the other. And in the rotation of that, it allows the hand to do that. Now, main reason for saying that is I'll often refer to comparative anatomy, where sometimes we compare it to other animals, horses, alligators, dogs, cats, things like that. And some animals don't have this ability. The bones are there in almost all the animals. The same bones are there in a horse as there are in us. They have more ribs. Okay, a horse has 15 ribs. Plus a few more false ones too. We have 10. Horse needs a bit more rib cage. Why? Say what? They're longer. Why would they need more rib cage?
When they ride, people ride.
To support us.
Support them. People can ride them. But you got to feel into, in the initial design, someone wasn't thinking riding. You know. Say what? Yeah, that's right. That's what the rib cage is really good for. By the way, think about it. You've seen the Terminator movies. Rib cage is just armor plating for the important things inside. Heart and lungs are in there, in us, in horses. And what does a horse do really well? Say what? Runs.
Yeah.
What is the first defense of the horse? I have horses. What's that?
Hind kick. So you know.
That's a good guess, but it's wrong.
Running.
Say what?
Running.
Running, yeah. Horse is in trouble, it runs. They're smarter than we are. Go ahead, hit me, I dare you. You know, it's dumb, you know. Run! I took karate when I was a kid. Learning Taekwondo, I earned my green or blue, whatever belt, you know. I found out pretty quickly that little kids were going to beat me up because I wasn't very good at it. I remember the teacher who was like a 10th degree black belt telling us, you know, karate's not going to save you. Karate's not going to do anything for you. If someone comes up to you and you see a gun, you run. You see a knife, you run. You know?
What if someone with a gun has really good aim?
You run. Standing there, you're not going to do any good. You know?
I know if you run, what if he's really good and somehow got you anyway? Well,
then they're just a good shot. And I know people like that. You know, I'm not good with guns either. I never lived in the right neighborhoods as a kid. We need to know things about anatomy to, like, for instance, if I have a character I'm designing and, you know, it's got certain physical attributes that I want that character to have, it would be handy to know, well, what animals on the planet have those attributes? And what are the physical qualities of those animals? And then I might then try to incorporate some of that into the character so that they would be logical on screen to do those whatever attributes or abilities. Now that makes sense, and just think about it for a second too. Individuals like Well, some of the people that work for George Lucas, that's what they do a great deal of. We've got a character on screen that we need for whatever sequence or scene, and they're going to have whatever abilities. Then they go steal a piece of this and a piece of that, put it together and make something. And that's what has made Mr. Lucas and his group of people very rich. They're smart enough to pay attention to things and then figure out, well, how can I, and the other trick is make it look realistic and logical. And because they're using bits and pieces of things that already exist for the most part, we believe them. Back to the Terminator again or something like that. First one was all stop motion. I saw it on television the other night. It was a really bad movie. At least the end was, you know. Of course, we all knew how it ended. It was kind of hokey, you know. But really, the stop motion stuff was pretty. You know, we're much more sophisticated now. You know, we know much more about it. So the second one was the best one. I also on the holiday screamed the third one just for the hell of it. It was terrible. Didn't care for it as much.
Have you seen the trailer for the new Clash of the Titans movie?
I have seen that, and that looks pretty cool.
The old Clash of the Titans with their
Yeah.
stop motion.
Everyone have class, by the way, next Wednesday? No?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, no matter what, I mean, if you're not in class, if you don't have a reason to be here, I make the reason to be here because that guy come to visit that worked on Avatar and whatever. I mean, the class that I teach tomorrow afternoon, we had already figured out that there's no class. We're just going there. I only said that because I have other students that I was talking to yesterday that do not have a reason to be in school on Wednesday, and so we just wanted to make sure the word is out. I mean, if someone's going to come from California that's worked on all these cool things and talk to us, that's pretty cool. You know.
What time's it gonna be here?
He's going to be here at 1, probably a little earlier than that, and then the show begins right around 1 o'clock or so until we exhaust his patience. You know, all things considered, no matter, bring a pad of paper with you, and as he's talking about whatever, and if you don't feel like stopping him, then write down questions that are even as far out there and as screwed up as you think they could possibly be, and ask them, because you're going to only have that one opportunity. You know, you might as well ask the question. If someone's going to be here that, you know, is going to leave us and go back to California and work on other cool stuff or something like that, you know, ask any question you even begin to think would be, you know, besides like what do you normally eat for breakfast or something like that. You know, I'm sure that doesn't matter to you. You know, but how do I get to go to work there? You know, it's a good question to ask. Of course, one of the good ways to get to work there is keeping good sketchbooks and doing good work in an anatomy class. It doesn't hurt. Let's see. The arm, the hand, we use to grab things, climb trees, get change back at McDonald's. This whole system floats around totally free of the form. This thing, once again, being bolted together by mechanics. See the bolts? Okay. We don't have any screws and bolts. A couple of you might, depending on what automobile accidents you've been in your life. Okay. But this plate back here, the scapula, being part of the shoulder girdle, something we'll touch on or we'll be talking about as we go along. That little piece of equipment, about as thin as a dime for the most part, really. And actually, this thing is not quite 100% anatomically correct. There are things that I think have been beefed up a little bit just so they don't fall apart when we're talking about it. Every a real human skeleton I've ever worked with, the leg bones have been much daintier than they appear to be there. They tend to be thinner and more braille-like, actually, in reality. I think they just beef them up a little bit so they don't fall apart. When I monkey around with the thing too much. But that little piece of sheet metal back there kind of